My name's Kevin Harkins. I'm a commercial advertising photographer. I specialize in people, product, and publicity work. I usually do corporate events, investment counselors, industrial sites, things like that. No weddings, no babies, no pets. I grew up in Lowell and stayed pretty much in the area. I went to traditional grammar schools in Lowell, the Immaculate Conception. Eventually, I went to the Art Institute of Boston, and I was a commuter. I took the train in, so I always stayed in the area, and I left for a little while. I worked for some studios outside of Boston, and particularly a catalog house that we did a lot of product photography for Zayres, Bradley's, Jordan Marsh, and we did a lot of work in fashion and still life photography. So I learned a good trade there, and then I decided to come back to Lowell. I had been laid off from that job, came back home, needed a place to stay, and decided to work for the city in a CETA program, which allowed me to photograph buildings in Lowell and with the Division of Planning and Development. I then went on to a few years of that, and I decided to start my own photography business. I came into photography as about 12 years old as a kid and started using my father's Polaroid camera. My father was a realtor here in Lowell and would need to take Polaroid pictures of his listings, and I would swipe the camera and take pictures with it, and then he would take me out with him on Saturdays, and I'd take pictures of houses with him or buildings, and he'd take me out to lunch. That was the deal. I do consider myself an artist in this line of work. I use it as a business, but at the same time, I like to do my own personal photography. And there's a series of images that I have of just street scenes that I've done in Lowell, little landscapes, things like that. I'm now, as I come into my twilight years of my career, I'm planning to spend more time producing those types of images for myself so that I can start exhibiting on a regular basis. Lowell is unique from an artist perspective because the affordability, for one thing. I've always found that it's great to have a space like the Waz in particular where the rents are so reasonable that we can conjugate here and be a part of a steady stream of artists that are coming through the area at different levels, some in their retirement years, some in their beginning years. And there's a lot of community support. There's a lot of people who support the arts, and we're always looking for new buyers, but at the same time, many of the artists are supporting their other artists, and it's a nice way of doing business. The gear that I use for a lot of the work I do, I use Nikon cameras. I originally started with Ricoh cameras back when I was in high school, and but as soon as I could, I was in photography school, and I wanted a camera with a motor drive, and I got the Nikon F2, and it was wonderful. It was like the Ferrari for me. But I've been with Nikon ever since. I never really changed. I could actually use some of the lenses from 30-year-old lenses that I have on the bodies that I have until now, where they've changed the format and the Z mounts are different. So photography, like a lot of industries, has changed a lot. In particular, once we started to see it in what they called stock photography, and photographers were producing images in the 1980s for stock views, and you see a lot of it now, and particularly ads for different things, particularly banks or corporate work like that, just generic, very good-looking people and beautiful scenes. And it was starting with that, and then digital came in, and that really started to change the craft. I saw myself going into digital as soon as I could. As soon as it was practical, I wanted to go into digital photography because I didn't want to take away from the lab work and the darkroom work, but I didn't want to do that work anymore. And I thought it would be easier to start doing digital photography. As it turns out, it becomes almost harder. You're doing as much work as possible now. And now you're doing more design work with your work as opposed to passing it off. Most significant moments in my career were almost the day I figured out I wanted to be a photographer. I had gone skiing up in Jackson, New Hampshire, and an old mountain called Tyrol, which doesn't exist anymore. And I went with a friend of mine, Ray, and I had just gotten a new Leica camera, and I was playing with it, and I was learning things, and I wanted to get some ski pictures. And we went to this area in the slopes where there was a jump, and Ray jumped off the jump, and I started snapping. I said, "Do it again," and we ran up, and he did it again, and I got a bunch of photographs. And I came back, developed the film myself, made some contact sheets, and looked at the prints later on, and it was just like, I want to do this for a living. I remember going into the guidance counselor at the little prep school I was at, and they said, "Look, I want to be a photographer. Where do you go to school to do that?" And there were only a few places at that time, and I found that for me the best thing to do was to keep it local too. I really didn't want to go out to the West Coast or upstate New York to Rochester. It was easier for me to go locally, and that's why I stayed with it, and that's why I went to the Art Institute of Boston. Advice for new photographers and aspiring photographers. When I was starting out, it was the late 1970s, and there were a lot of photography schools, but a lot of them have gone away. But at the same time, there's a lot of good information out there that you can get programs through your local trade school. You can go to some of the colleges will have an arts program, and now it's more of a mix. So you're on not only photographing with photography, but you're doing some video, and you're doing some the Adobe suites and things like that. So, and then there's YouTube. There's so much you can learn. When I'm stumped on something and I just do a quick search and find something, I can usually find somebody do it on YouTube. It's interesting. It's not as structured as it used to be with a classroom orientation that I used to get. It's amazing what you can do on your own if you really pursue it. And you have to have the passion, because if you don't have the passion, it doesn't work as well. I just don't know how to do anything else, and that's why I stayed so much in it. To find me, you can find me on the web at harkinsphotography.com. You can also find me on my social media pages, which are linked from my website. So you can find me on Facebook and also LinkedIn and Blue Sky. And I usually try to blog once or twice a week and try to keep up my postings up on those things. So I'm still available. I haven't retired yet, though people keep asking. But I do a lot of events here locally in Lowell, and you can usually see me at those things too.